Okay, so before you were doing questions like this here, question 3, where these were actually complete squares. So in these questions, these were perfect squares, and we only got one answer, okay, from that, because we were able to write that like something plus or minus something squared equals 0. Okay, so there was actually only one answer for these which were complete squares. But these questions, you will see in the example here, you'll get two different factors. So they're not the same. So for this example, we got two particular answers, two different answers. Okay, so I'll show you how to do these ones. And now these questions are when A is 1, this number here. So when A is 1, we'll use the method that I'm going to show you now. So question A, I'll write it over here. So x squared plus 7x plus 10 equals 0. Probably last year you learned what's called the cross method. Okay, and you may have learned some other methods, but we'll review here anyway. But cross method I tend not to use because for harder problems, this takes longer. Okay, and I think you probably learned that in grade 8. But what we'll do now is use a method which is slightly different. So if this value is 1 in front, so if it's x squared, we'll use this method I'm going to show you now. So if it's 1, what we want to do is find two values that when you multiply them, you'll get 10, the last number. And when you add the two numbers, you'll get the middle number, which is 7. Okay, so you think about which those would be. So when you multiply the two numbers, you get 10. But when you add the same numbers, you get 7. So you can see that would be 2 and 5, isn't it? 2 times 5 is 10. 2 plus 5 is 7. So this is the first bit you need to do. And this will actually just give you the answer. So we could actually write our equation as factors like this. Now, because this is x squared, that means your first two numbers have to be x. Well, your first part of this factor is x, this part is x. So when you multiply that, you'll get x squared and then something after that. So you write x in here, and then you write these two numbers in here and here. So that would be plus 2 for the first one and plus 5 for the second one. It doesn't matter where you put them, but 2 and 5 go in there. So now what you've done is you've factorized it already. And if you expand this, you will check you'll get back to your original equation here. So that means from the first factor, from yesterday, x must be minus 2. Minus 2 plus 2 is 0, okay? And then this answer will be minus 5 because minus 5 plus 5 is 0 as well. So that's your answer there for this one, which you don't need to copy because it's over here already, okay? So that's how you do that one. Now, we can try this one together. I'll erase this because I already have the answer on the other side. And we'll do a few examples here and a bit of practice. Okay. So look at this one. Your first step is, well, what you can do is put your bracket first. You can write this first. And we have x squared. So we know we can write x and x in here. That's the first thing to do. And then we're thinking about what are the two numbers that will multiply to give the last number, which is -8, and we'll add to give the middle number, which is -2. Okay, so multiplication for the last number and addition for the middle number, like that. So how about that? What do you think? Multiply to be -8 and add to be -2. It's looking to me that this would be -4 times 2. And when you multiply them, you get -8. That's correct. And when you add them, you'll get -2. -4 plus 2 is -2. So these are the numbers that we need. These are your key numbers. So once you've actually done this step, call that step 1, then step 2 will be to write these numbers into your equation, -4, and then +2 in here. And when you solve that, you should get x is 4 from this factor and -2 from this factor. So that will be your answer. Okay, another way you can think about this, we can draw this as a diagram. So let's make a box diagram. You don't have to do this when you calculate. I'm just illustrating what it can look like if we make a diagram like that. So what were our two factors? So we've got x -4 and x +2. So we'll write them here. So x plus -4, that's x -4, because plus negative is negative. And then x +2 would be x plus 2, and 2 is positive. So now think about area when you have a box like this. So the area of this box would be x times x, which is x squared. This would be -4x here. This box would be 2 times x, which is 2x. And this box would be 2 times -4, -8. So you can see that if you did the area, x -4 times x plus 2, it would be equal to all of these parts added together. So x squared -4x plus 2x -8. Let's move that up. And then if you simplify that, you'll get x squared -2x -8 equals 0 if we're solving the equation. So you can see we got back to actually the original question here. So we know that these are the correct factors. So you don't have to draw this diagram when you're calculating. I'm just using it to show you what's happening a different way using a graphing method. Okay, so that's how you do this kind of problem. Let's do one more. I'll leave it there. So let me write another one, and you can try this. I'll give you a few minutes to do it. So x squared. So write this down somewhere. X squared -8x plus 15 equals 0. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes to try that one. The first thing is calculate or write your brackets out. You can do that first. And x squared, so we know these are x and x. All right, so you try this procedure over here. And then take your values and put them in. So I've done the working there anyway. Okay, I'll leave it there. So you try this one for a few minutes and then we'll do the answer. And here's another one. X squared plus 13x plus 30 equals 0. So this is the question 1. And this is question 2 here. So do those and see how you go with them. Not too hard. So try them using this method here. I put in the blue circle there. All right, I'll give you a few minutes. Try that. So in question 1, you want 2 numbers that when you multiply, you'll get 15. And when you add them, you'll get the middle number, -8. So that's looking like it's -3 times -5, isn't it? They can be negative. One can be negative, one can be positive as well, or both could be negative. So you got to think a little bit when you have different signs here. So -3 times -5 is 15. -3 plus -5, which is -3 minus 5, which is -8. So these are the 2 numbers you want, and these go into your factors here. They form your factors. So x minus 3, x minus 5, that's 3. So from that, you should get x equals 3 and 5 as your final answer for the solution to the equation, okay? And if you want to check, of course, you take your numbers and put them back into your equation and check at your original equation. If you put them back and they're wrong, it means maybe there's something wrong with your factors here, and you'll need to check that, okay? So question 2, if you're still working on it, you can think about it or you can watch here. So 2 numbers that multiply to be 30 and add to be 13. So they're both positive, which means that these numbers are probably positive as well, most likely. So this is looking like 3 times 10. Yeah, I hope you got that. 3 times 10 is 30. Okay. 3 plus 10 is 13. So both of these numbers are good here and here. So we put them into our equation here. And we have x squared. So we know the first part will be x. And then we have plus 3 from here. And then x again, plus 10 there. So just write these 2 numbers into your factors here. Put them in there. And therefore, we know x is going to be -3, because -3 plus 3 is 0, and -10, because -10 plus 10 is also 0. So that's your final answer there. Okay, for that one there. Let's see what we got over here. You can also try this one here. Well, you can't yet. I've got to explain how to do it. So we'll do that. Now, in the next section, you will see it gets a little bit more difficult when A is not 1. So when A is not equal to 1, we call this method called the AC method. There are other methods like the cross method, but they start to take a long time to do. So I'll show you how to do this one here, and I will copy the question over to the side here. So that's 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. So let me do it down here. Plus 2 equals 0. So we need to know that this is not 1, is it? It's 2. So what I could do now, we use what's called the AC method. Now, normally our general form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So if we look at this equation, we can see that a is 2 and c is 2 and b is 5. So that's the first thing you should look at. And we need it in this form. It needs to look like this form here. And then we can find out what is A, B, and C. A always goes with x squared. B always goes with x, and C is the constant. So as I said, we're using AC method. That means we multiply A and C. So AC here would be 2 times 2, which is 4. And B is the middle number, which is 5. Now, in the last question, A here is 1, isn't it? A was 1. So 1 times 2 would be 2. This would be 2 if A is 1. So what we do, from this one, we want to find 2 numbers that when you multiply them, you get this last number, 4. So it's kind of similar to the last question. And from the B, when we add the 2 numbers, we should get B, which is the middle number, just like the last question, which is 5. So looking at that, we can see that this must be 1 times 4, isn't it? 1 times 4 is 4. And 1 plus 4 is 5. So what we do now, we're going to use grouping method to do this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write down the equation again. 2x squared plus 5x plus 2 equals 0. Now what I'm going to do with these numbers, 1 and 4, I'm going to use them to change this number. So what I mean by that is I'm going to write 2x squared plus 4x from this 4 here. And that 1 means I write down x here. 1x is x. Plus 2 equals 0. So do you see what I did there? I put 1 and 4 in here. So this middle number has been changed to this 4x plus x, which is 5x. So you should agree that these equations are both equal, aren't they? But the reason I did that is now that I can do grouping to factorize. So we're going to do a few examples, so don't panic just yet. So I'm going to do my grouping method, and you can see the common factor here is 2x, bracket, x plus 2. Okay, and then this is x plus 2. So I already have it there. So all I'll do is I'll make a bracket, x plus 2, like that. So that one is here. This one is here. So now you see I have a common factor here and here. So x plus 2 is my common factor. I'll write it here. Okay, and then I'm left with 2x plus 1. There's always a 1 written there. 2x plus 1 equals 0. Okay, so these are your factors. And now I can solve them. I'll write it here. So that means that x is minus 2 from this factor. And this one would be minus a half from this factor here. So that's your answer. Minus 2 and minus a half. That's already written in on your sheet there. But I may be showing a bit more working now. So that's how you do that one. We can look at practice question, which is there's your answer there from that one. So let's look at this question here. Okay, so you can do this by cross method, which I'm not going to show you because I think you should do this grouping method for every question. Because if you have a very difficult problem, for example, if you had 12x squared plus 7x plus 20, this is going to take you a long time to do by cross method because there's a lot of things that you need to check. Okay. But I think this method that I'm showing you works for every question that you can factorize. If you can't factorize it, no method is going to work. We have to use another method. Okay, so let's do our AC for this problem. We can see that A is 2. So you can do this one with me. So A is 2, B is 7, C is 5. So A, B, and C. So AC is 2 times 5, which is 10. So the two numbers I'm looking for multiplied to be 10. That's our first line. And then B is 7. So the two numbers I want, I add them and I'll get 7, like that. So this one leads to this, and this one leads to that, like that. So now we need to guess our two numbers. So if we're guessing our numbers, it looks like 2 times 5, isn't it? 2 times 5 is 10, and 2 plus 5 is 7. They're both correct. So these are the two numbers we want. So I'll write my equation again. 2a squared plus 7a plus 5 equals 0. And we split this middle term using these two numbers here. Okay. So I'm going to have 2a squared plus, I'll put the 2 first because 2 and 2 are factorized. So 2a plus 5a, the 5 comes from here, plus 5, the last number, equals 0. So you can see what I did here. I split the middle term using 2 and 5 from here or here. And then they are equal to 7a. So 2a plus 5a is 7a. So nothing's changed, has it? I didn't change anything. This equation is equal to this one. It just looks a bit different. So now I can factorize by grouping here. So I'll end up with 2a as the common factor there. Oh, I don't need a bracket, do I? So let's just write 2a. Then I've got a plus 1 from this first pair here. Okay. And then the common factor 5a plus 5a is 5. A plus 1 equals 0. So 5 times a, 5a, 5 times 1, 5. So now your common factor is a plus 1. So I'll write that in the front like that. And I'm left with 2a plus 5. So I'll write that there, 2a plus 5 as the other factor equals 0. And then a must be equal to minus 1 or minus 5 on 2. Okay, so that's your answer there. I'll put that in green. So you can copy that because that's not written on the sheet. That's how I did this question here. So you should take a bit of time to write that down because on the test or on the worksheet, you should show this working like this, similar to that. So don't skip this step here. I want to see the working here, how you're using the grouping, okay? You probably don't have to show this bit here, but you should show this actually, this part. I want to see that as well when you do the work, okay? So I might give you a couple to do. I'm going to rub this one out so we have a bit of space. I've got a few questions you can practice. We'll do this before we go to the next section. And the last class, I got up to only finishing this area, this section anyway. So I didn't get to the next section so much. So let's write a couple of questions down. Okay, question 1. So you can do this on some paper somewhere or on a tablet. So 2x squared plus 11x plus 12 equals 0. That's your first one. Question 2, 6a squared plus 7a plus 2 equals 0. And I've got another one here. We'll see how we go for time. I can find my pen. Okay, 3. So 2x squared minus 9x plus 10 equals 0. All right, I'll give you some time, maybe 10 minutes to work on those. We go to 11:10. So we have 20 minutes. So I work for about 10 minutes on that until about 11 o'clock, then I'll start doing some. Okay, so 11 o'clock. So see if you can do those in 10 minutes. You may not finish, but see how you go. All right, I'll be quiet for 10 minutes and you can work on that. Okay, so we can look at question 1. If you're still working, keep working. You can check the answer here in a minute. So it's looking like the two numbers that you want here are 3 times 8 for AC. 3 8s are 24 and 3 plus 8 is 11. Okay, so these are the two numbers that we use to split the middle number. So we'll write our equation. So 2x squared. Now I'm going to put the 8 first, plus 8x plus 3x, which is 11x, okay? And then plus 12 equals 0. So then let's factorize the first bit and this bit. So 2x, so we'll have 2x, x plus 4, plus 3, x plus 4 equals 0. Okay, so we've got x plus 4 as the common factor, so that can come out. And you are left with 2x plus 3 here. So that forms the second factor. 2x plus 3 equals 0. So from that, x equals minus 4 or minus 3 on 2, like that. So that's your answer for question 1. Okay, so hopefully that's okay. We'll come across here a bit. So how about question 2? Question 2. So AC is going to be 6 times 2, which is 12. So that means the two numbers you want multiplied to be 12. And B is 7, the middle number. So the two numbers you want add to be 7. So this is looking like 3 and 4, isn't it? 3 4s are 12. 3 plus 4 is 7. So these are both correct. So we split the middle number using these two here. So we can write our equation, 6a squared plus 3a. I put the 3 with the 6 because 3 will factorize out. Plus 4a plus 2 equals 0. So these are your pairs that you want to do grouping on. So now we'll factorize. So 6a squared plus 3a. So 3a was the common factor. This will be 2a plus 1 here. Okay, so we factorize this. plus 2, 2a plus 1 equals 0. So that's factorizing the second pair there. So now you can see your common factor is 2a plus 1. So we write that in the front. And you are left with 3a plus 2 for the second factor there. Okay, so from that, a will be minus a half, and a here will be minus 2 on 3. Okay, looks okay there. So these are your two answers here for A and A here. So A has two answers. Not every quadratic has two answers, does it? Some have no answers, by the way. So let's clear that out. Okay, so for question 3, we got 5 or 6 minutes, so let's do this one. So again, AC will be 2 times 10, which is 20. So the two numbers you're looking for multiplied to be 20. B is minus 9. So the two numbers, when you add them, you should get minus 9. So this is looking like minus 4 and minus 5. Because this is negative, you know you have some negative numbers involved. But this is positive. So this would have to be minus 4 times minus 5, which gives you 20. And minus 4 plus minus 5 gives you minus 9. Okay, so we can write down our equation again, but using these two numbers here to split this middle number. So we're going to have 2x squared. Now we've got minus 4 and minus 5. I would put the minus 4 first because 2 will factorize out from 4. And then I put the minus 5x there, plus 10. If you swap them around, you'll have a problem factorizing. So the order here is important, these two. If it's not working, swap these two around and see if it works. Okay. So then we'll factorize our two groups, 2x squared and minus 4x. So that would be 2x. We'll have x minus 2, minus 5 here, x minus 2 here. So just check that's okay. Minus 5x, minus 5 times minus 2 is 10. So looking good. So now factorize out your common factor, x minus 2 here. And we are left with 2x minus 5 here equals 0. So then x will be 2 from the first factor and 5 on 2 from the second factor. So they're both positive. Okay, so that's your second answer. I'll leave that there for a minute. I recommend you copy that if you are having a problem with that, if you haven't done it yet. So you should show this as step 1. Split your terms. Yeah, this is split terms. Split the middle term. Middle term. That's step 3 here. And then we factorize by grouping here. Factor by grouping. There. And then here we write the solution here as step 4. So I recommend these as the 4 steps that you show. So write solution. Here. I noticed some students get to here in the past. They will write the factors, but then they forget to write the solution here. I remember one student a few years ago, he did every question on the quiz, but he didn't write the solution. And he got like 60% for the score. But he did all of these correct. He wrote the factors, but he just forgot to solve it at the end. Okay, so be aware of that. If you're solving an equation, you need to write your two solutions at the end here. Okay, I'll leave that there for now. I'll leave it for a minute if you want to copy that. So write that down because we only have 2 minutes left anyway. And on Monday, we'll go through the examples which are in the book, which are I'll do here. They're already on this sheet already. Okay, so you should be showing 4 steps here. We can also show that using the diagram. Let me draw that quick. We ended up with x plus -2 here and 2x minus 5. I'll write it here. There. So we ended up with 2x squared here. This is one way you can also check. Minus 4x. This is minus 5x. And this is 10. Looks okay, because when you add these two terms here, you'll get your minus 9 back here in the question. And 2x squared is okay. That's here. And 10 is here in. So everything looks all right. So these look like to be the correct factors, which are here and here. There. That's just an illustration to show what's going on. Okay, we'll stop there and I'll make a video of this and then